The vegan, in their most distilled essence, presents a figure of moral austerity, a person who has, through a combination of ethical enlightenment and personal discipline, transcended the barbaric customs of their carnivorous ancestors. Yet, as with all forms of asceticism, there lurks beneath the surface a kind of implicit arrogance, a silent rebuke to the rest of us who continue to partake in the primitive ritual of consuming animal flesh. In this tableau, the vegan emerges as an intriguing study in contrasts. On one hand, there's the undeniable nobility in their renunciation, a certain stoic heroism in resisting the siren call of culinary tradition. Yet this very nobility is tinged with an air of martyrdom, a subtle yet unmistakable aura of sacrifice that seems to say, "Look upon my discipline, ye mighty, and despair." There is an almost religious fervor in this abstention, a sanctity attached to the act of not eating, that elevates the mundane act of dietary choice to a profound statement of identity. The vegan, in abstaining from flesh, is not merely making a statement about what they will not eat. They are proclaiming who they are, and perhaps more pointedly, who they are not. In this context, veganism becomes less about the ethics of consumption and more about the construction of self, a dietary de profundis, a personal narrative written in the ink of abstinence. Let us not be too hasty in our judgment, however. The ethical argument put forth by the vegan is not without its merits. The industrial complex of animal farming, with its often horrifying disregard for the welfare of its sentient subjects, presents a tableau that should give pause to anyone with a modicum of concern for the suffering of fellow creatures. The environmental impact, too, is undeniable. The vast resources required to sustain the meat industry are a luxury that our beleaguered planet can scarcely afford. Yet there is something unsettlingly puritanical about the vegan ethos. It is one thing to choose a plant-based diet out of concern for animals or the environment. It is quite another to elevate this choice to a moral imperative, to regard those who do not share your dietary preferences as somehow morally deficient. This is the sort of dogmatism that one typically associates with religious zealotry, not rational discourse. Moreover, the vegan movement, for all its claims to moral superiority, often exhibits a curious myopia. There is a tendency to focus on the welfare of animals to the exclusion of the myriad other ethical issues that plague our food system. The exploitation of migrant labor in the agricultural sector, the environmental impact of monoculture crops, the cultural imperialism implicit in imposing Western dietary standards on the rest of the world. These are issues that rarely seem to merit the same level of outrage as the plight of the factory-farmed chicken. Before we venture towards a conclusion, it's imperative to wade through the murky waters of our own nature, a nature steeped in primordial instincts and yet aspiring towards lofty ideals. We are, after all, creatures of a savage history, clawing our way up the evolutionary ladder with teeth and nails, quite literally feasting on the flesh of others to fuel our ascent. It's a brutal truth, one that sits uneasily in the stomachs of the enlightened, but it's a truth nonetheless. In this dance of the civilized and the savage, veganism emerges not just as a dietary choice, but as a symbol of our struggle to transcend our baser instincts. To embrace veganism is, in a way, to acknowledge the beast within and to make a conscious effort to rise above it, to forge a path that is less blood-stained, yet fully aware of the blood that courses through our own veins. This dance is a complex one, riddled with contradictions and ironies, as we, the apex predators, grapple with the moral implications of our appetites. It is a testament to the human condition, a condition that encompasses the capacity for both monstrous cruelty and sublime benevolence. In the final analysis, veganism, like any ideology, has its virtues and its vices. It is a choice that deserves respect, but not uncritical adulation. We would do well to remember that the road to moral righteousness is fraught with the peril of self-righteousness, and that the choice of what we put on our plate, while not trivial, is perhaps not the ultimate measure of our humanity.